You're listening to Treats from the Store, the podcast where people from Ascension Parish and the surrounding areas discuss real topics. This episode is sponsored by T. Fred's Tiki Bar, Community Steel, and Country Kitchen in Gonzales. My name is Mark Belgard, and sitting with me today is Daniel Haydel from the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, Ascension Parish Constable James E. LeBlanc, and hopefully future Constable, and Louisiana State Climatologist, did I say the right climatologist, Jay Grymes. You may remember him from being Mike Graham's protege. Anyway, before we start, I'm a huge fan of Jay Grymes, like fangirl level, because back in the day, you were either a Channel 2 family or a Channel 9 family, and I was a Channel 9 family. They loved WFB. We watched it in the morning. We watched, I remember Vernon and Diane was at noon, and also at 5, and then, I knew the schedules. I knew that, Donna Britt and George Sells was at 10, and I knew all that shit, because I was like a fan of the news as a kid. That's weird. But anyway, I was a huge Mike Graham fan. I saw him do a play at the Baton Rouge. It's over near the old mall on Florida Boulevard. They have Baton Rouge Little Theater. He did a play there, and I'm like, holy crap, look at Mike Graham's doing a play. So I remember that. And I remember when they introduced Jay Grymes for the first time, and I'm like, look, that's going to be the new Mike Graham, kind of like when Price LeBlanc was getting old, so they brought in the son to train him. I'm like, man, I guess that's what we're doing with this Jay Grymes fella, So anyway, if you want to introduce yourselves.
So I am Jay Grymes. I never heard myself called Mike Graham's protege, but I did replace Mike. Mike left in 2003, and I took the first chair and rode it for 21 years. I'm over at GOSEP now, different and more oriented, a job more oriented to what I trained for as a student a lifetime ago. But the event here we're going to talk about, I remember it very, very well. Katrina was the event that I cut my teeth on and got kind of established in TV. But August 2016 is the one that really was the hello moment.
My name is Daniel Haydel, and I've been a resident of Ascension Parish my entire life. So I've been here, born and raised in Santa Maria, what we call AC, Louisiana. And when I was invited to come on this show, I had a lot of experience with the flood in 2016 because my house was flooded with 5 feet of water. And since then, I've been working with the Sheriff's Office for 12 years now. So it's been an experience, but great parish to live in. Flood, is a huge impact for everyone.
A lot of people say he's the new hot cop.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him. He's all right.
Still haven't read them comments yet.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll get to them.
All right.
Yeah, so he's hanging around with them LeBlanc boys. So look, man, what a great pleasure it is to have Jay Grymes here today and have Daniel Haydel here today. I'm James LeBlanc. Mark introduced me as the constable. I've been constable for 26 years. But most of all, I've been fire chief in this community for the past 40 years. So every hurricane and tropical storm and natural disaster that's hit Louisiana over the last 40 years, I've been the incident commander here in Ascension Parish over that. So this 2016 flood, I remind y'all that everybody called it the Great Flood of 2016. None of us can remember anything great about it. Daniel mentioned that he had 5 foot of water in his house.
They called it the 1,000-year flood.
Yeah. I ended up having 5.5 feet in my house, and of course in the Santa Maria community is where we lost every fire station, every school, and just about 70% of the businesses, and definitely 80% of the homes. So it's enriched in my it's definitely enriched in my mind and in my head for sure. And so it's hard to believe it's been 10 years that this struck us. And thanks for Mark. Thank you for inviting us to be able to relive a little bit of what happened 10 years ago.
Yep. Let's start with how it started. How much warning did we have? How did we know it was coming? Did we know it would be this bad? Jay?
No, and definitely not. To those 3 points. We knew it was coming. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we can trace it back. It actually formed didn't look all that different, frankly, from this mess we had recently with Bertha. It started off in the south of the Florida Panhandle, took some days to drift from east to west. But what we didn't know, because it was out over water the whole time, we didn't know how much rain it was going to produce.
Right.
Computer models were giving us some hints, and yeah, we knew it was going to be a flood event a couple of days before it arrived, but we were thinking 8, 10, maybe 12 inches of rain. One model was going around 15 to 16, but you look, first off, in the weather business, you rarely forecast a record. That's why they call them records, because they're supposed to be it. And as it started to approach, as we get sort of into Wednesday the 11th and the 12th on Thursday of August, the rain started falling. No big deal. It's still moving along. We know that the worst of it is going to be probably Friday into Saturday, and that's indeed what happened. But what we absolutely didn't expect was for this thing to stall and sit over southeast Louisiana for the equivalent, really, of about 3.5 to 4 days. Yep. And suddenly the numbers just start going up. And Friday, the 12th, that into Saturday, that was the biggest part of the rain, but it wasn't all of the rain. And, to give you a sense of what kind of numbers we're talking about here, in Watson, just up the Amite there on the western side of Livingston Parish, 31 inches of rain for the storm event. Widespread 20-inch plus totals across the basin. And the worst of the rain extended from western Livingston into eastern EBR. Now, down here in Ascension Parish, you got some big rain numbers, but nothing that big. The problem here was
it came from up north, and
all that water was coming downhill.
Yes,
that's right.
That's right. 100%.
So that's why I couldn't really plan for it at all,
You talked about records. 8 rivers reached record levels, 8 of them.
Well, it was, and they didn't just reach records. They established records, and they smashed the previous numbers.
Yeah, Amite crested 5 feet above the record.
That's insane.
It's insane.
That's
yeah.
insane.
But even at Port Vincent, the number was up about 2 to 3 feet, which is remarkable given how flat.
Fred's on the river went completely under.
Yeah,
There's
100%.
nothing but the sign was visible. It was Fred's under the river.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that was
Yeah,
insane
100%.
seeing that.
Yes. Like Jay said, August 11th is whenever it really started catching all of our attention. And, I believe Jay's right when he says, it's 31.39 inches is what we saw. The Washington Post noted that this no-name storm dumped 3 times as much rain on Louisiana as Hurricane Katrina did. 13 people have been confirmed dead in the consequences of the flooding. At least 30,000 people were evacuated, and an estimate 146,000 homes were damaged.
I'm glad it was only 13 people. It could have been a lot more.
It could have been a whole lot worse. So that's August 11th right there. When it starts, and then like Jay said, it just sat here and sat here and sat here, and it was like it was never going to go away for the next 3 to 4 days. And like every storm, and Daniel's in these meetings, and so just like all those storms, we having community meetings, every morning at the courthouse with all the elected officials and the sheriff's office and all the emergency responders. We had this meeting for like a solid couple of days, and I still remember every morning when we would go to this meeting to get this briefing, I kept asking them, I said, man, look, how does Ascension look? How does Santa Maria look? How's Ascension look? How's Santa Maria look? And it was about, I want to say it was like the 12th or August 12th, probably around the 13th is whenever they told us, hey, look, it's time for you to go home.
Yeah.
It's time for you to get back to Santa Maria because this is the day where you're going to really, really be affected. And I still remember leaving that morning meeting at the Gonzales Courthouse, and I drove back to Santa Maria, and Gold Place Road is the road that I live off of, and I still remember trying to turn on Gold Place Road off of 431 and seeing hundreds and hundreds of trucks and trailers stopping at people's houses on Gold Place Road and just trying to pick up and load up as much furniture out of all these people's houses as we possibly could, because the water was coming.
Yeah.
It was, and we knew it was coming, and it was like a waterfall from the Mississippi River. There was nothing that you could do to stop it. So, that was the first couple of days.
And I remember that, though, because that's same time when Gold Place was going on, and we thought we were still good on 930. See, I live off of 937, so we thought we were good because of the roads built up high. Then you got Highway 22, which is built up high. But after Gold Place started going in the water, people started talking, and started getting down to us in AC is what I like to call it, AC, Louisiana. When I was working on patrol in Donisville at the time, so I wasn't able to be really home a lot during that time and work the east side. I was working the west side. I remember, though, it was really no warning because people started to panic when it was getting closer to our house. People was loading up cattle, horses were trying to save horse feed. I remember going to my neighbor's house and loading up just all of his horse feed in my boat and everything. We're launching a boat across my street, and on my side, I was completely dry. We had no water on my side, but across the street on 937 was completely devastated. They were already going underwater. So we're helping them get horses out, get feed out. And then within a couple hours, that's when it started going over Highway 937. It's just like a waterfall at that point.
So the chief mentioned the daily briefings, and I was actually each morning getting on the phone with Ward Webb, if you remember Ward from the sheriff's office.
Oh, yeah.
And he was sort of the conduit between me and Sheriff Wiley. The sheriff had asked Ward to ask me, as we're getting into the 11th and 12th, the Weather Service has gone to 15 feet now at Port Vincent. And the sheriff was already starting to get a little unnerved. 15 feet at Port Vincent was a repeat of April 83. And I remember telling Ward, I said, this is not official, and you can't do this to the public. But everything I saw says it was going to go well above 15 feet.
Oh, wow.
And it did. It ended up going 17.5. In fact, there's some evidence that it went 17.9, which, again, so there's 2.5 feet above the previous record. And the thing is, April 83, that was the benchmark. Everybody built to that. We thought we would never see April 83 again. And here you smash that number. Same with Denham Springs, 41 feet at Denham Springs on the A-meet. And typically, if you break a record, you might break it by half a foot.
Not much.
Not 5 feet like it
That is
did
correct.
at Denham Springs. So what was happening there was it was taking longer for that water to get downhill. In fact, Bayou Manchac, I got a phone call from a guy who property backed up to Bayou Manchac, and he calls me up in a lather because Bayou Manchac is flowing the wrong direction.
That's when we knew we were in trouble.
Yeah.
That's when we knew we were in trouble.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
7 trillion gallons of rainwater.
That's insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to put that in perspective? How much you think Lake Pontchartrain holds on during an average day?
Is it less than 7 trillion?
It's a third of that.
Oh, holy
Really?
crap.
No way. I would not expect that.
Lake Pontchartrain holds less than 2 trillion gallons of water. So we're talking about an event. Now, keep in mind, this is rain from west of Lafayette to the Pearl, but it dumped 3 to 4 times the volume of Lake Pontchartrain in about 5 days.
75% of the homes in Livingston Parish were estimated a total loss.
Yes. Yes. And over, I would say over 70% of the homes in, the Santa Maula, AC area, the same way. We talked about, how it rolled in here, and on August the 14th is whenever it really started hitting Gold Place, and we started posting stuff on Facebook telling the people that live the next road over,
Like us, yeah.
like
look
Stringer
down the road.
Bridge and 936 and 937, say, look, we getting hit now. you're going to be getting hit within the next 12 hours. You got about 10 to 12 hours to start getting anything that means anything to you out of your house. And so the main fire station of Santa Maria is on Stringer Bridge, which is the next road over from Gold Place.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget on August 15th, because my house had already flooded. All the volunteer firemen were at the station, and they said, "Chief, it's coming over it's coming over Stringer Bridge like somebody just unleashed the Mississippi River."
Yep.
And it just washed right through the Santa Maria fire. Thank God we were able to move all the fire trucks out. And when we moved them to Santa Maria High School. We thought that was going to be our command post. So all the fire trucks moved from Santa Maria's main station to Santa Maria High School. And as soon as they got to Santa Maria High School, they had to evacuate again because the floodwaters were taking over the whole entire school.
I remember that because Santa Maria had to go to Dutchtown for a while.
That's right. Yes.
I do remember that, though, because that was a crazy scene, having Santa Maria with Dutchtown.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just Dutchtown did a phenomenal job of welcoming all the Santa Maria kids and teachers and whoever else was involved with that. So shout out to Dutchtown.
My smallest children were going to Galvez Primary. They had to go to Lake.
Yeah.
And then my older son, he was going to Galvez Middle. He had to go to Central Middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always said that whoever, of course, now this is, way after the, now we're in the, what I call the recovery stage, and when all these kids have to go to all these different schools. But I always said whoever from the school system came up with that bright idea where, the Dutchtown school would go to school from 8 to 12,
Yeah.
and then the Santa Maria would take over their school and go from 1 to 4.
That was awesome.
And that would be for a good
That had to
while.
be
Yeah, they did
a
it.
headache
I
logistically.
was working
They-
at SSO at that time, and I remember that because I worked at Dutchtown and having Santa Maria kids there. It was just kind of like just odd, I guess, to me to see that. But you had mentioned, though, when the fire station went under, August the 15th, you
Yes,
said?
on the 15th.
So it took, I think we started getting water August the 16th or the 17th, I believe. Early mornings, we started getting water in our area. But, of course, I was one of those ones that didn't think I was going to flood. And so let's stay and wait. And then we barely got out,
Yeah. Once I'll tell you, Jay, I know you've been through a lot of these, and like I said, being fire chief 40 years, been through a lot of tropical storms and a lot of hurricanes. I thought Katrina was bad, but man, once this water started coming, it was a sight to see.
It was.
It was like it was no slowing it down once it started coming.
And there's nothing you can do. You don't know how high it's going to get. You don't know if it's going to be a couple inches or 5 feet. You just don't know. So that was the scary part about it, because you're like, oh, if I park my truck or my lawnmower on the highway, will it be good?
Right.
No, of course not. All the people who did that, cars and trucks were pushed into ditches from the current. So
I was going to ask if any hospitals had to relocate patients, but I don't think there are any in that area.
No. St. Elizabeth and Gonzales was good, and then of course in 2016 we didn't have the hospital on Highway 73.
Right.
The only hospital we had in Ascension was St. Elizabeth on Highway 30, and Prevost in Donaldsonville.
A lot of 73 made it just fine.
Yes.
So
Any nursing homes?
Oh, it definitely had some nursing homes that felt the impact. And you say 73, I mean, keep in mind a couple of days before we really got hit, we had got some water. The Geismar Fire Department on Highway 73 ended up getting 1 to 2 inches of water in it, and it was on Highway 73 in Prattville.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
did the Mississippi River go over the levee or no?
No, I don't know. Thank God.
Because we have all those chemical plants right there.
Thank
I
God
think all the
it didn't.
chemical plants were good, huh?
Yeah.
Fortunately, all of the heavy rain stayed. What was really bizarre, and a lot of people over here aren't aware of this, there were actually 2 core bullseyes. One was in the Livingston EBR parish area that got you guys because the water had to come downhill. There was a completely distinct separate bullseye over Lafayette.
Oh, really?
That dumped a 20-inch.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Nobody
That's
here
something
does.
that-
And when you go to Lafayette and talk about August 2016, they talk about their area. They don't know what happened over here because we're all focused on our backyard.
Cell service also was down like any other day, so.
Yeah.
Did they get it as bad as we did?
Well,
I know they
they
have
did-
their whole spillway system to kind of take care of that. But
they didn't get it quite as bad because they don't have the population density. But
Yeah.
the coverage, the footprint coverage of the rainfall was pretty similar. It's just that there were fewer people there.
That's right.
And the problem here, and this is why I get real I won't say upset. I get concerned when people start labeling this the 1 in 1,000-year event. First off, we don't know that.
No, nobody knows.
We don't
You
have
can't
history.
predict that.
The other
this is
thing
hyperbole, is all it is.
is
Yeah.
that when they say that, they're talking about the rain event. The flood event is much more frequent statistically. And here's the way to think of this. Take that same, so the heaviest rains, the 25 to 30 inches of rain, was sort of a football shape, extending from east of Watson to west of Central, to the north of you. Take that same football and move it north 20 miles. You are still in the Amite drainage basin.
Yeah.
And
that water is
yeah.
still coming here.
And Jay, you mentioned that people always talk about this as that 1,000-year flood, and I get nervous about that also because just not even 2 months ago, the Hurricane Arthur comes, Tropical Storm Arthur, right?
Tropical storm, yeah.
Wasn't even a hurricane,
Right.
And the whole time that Arthur was approaching Louisiana, they kept saying, "Man, you're gonna see a 50-mile difference where somebody 50 miles from you is either going to get hit bad or you going to get hit bad." And lo and behold, look what happened to Avoyelles Parish. And not even 2 months ago, they got the record number flooding in Avoyelles Parish, what we saw in 2016. And all this thing had to do was just turn 20 to 30 miles away from Avoyelles Parish, and we hit again.
Yeah, they topped out at 39 inches.
That's
Yes.
insane.
And most of that, believe it or not, fell in less than 12 hours.
I believe it.
So and put that in perspective, Jay said 39 inches in less than 12 hours, and we got devastated in 2016 with 31 inches.
That's 3 inches an hour.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
nuts.
That's insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just amazing how fast the water was also flowing, though.
Yes.
And that was
Well, that's the energy of water.
Yes.
We often think, I
shows you
can
how-
stand in the water. Yeah.
But it shows you how south we live, though, when we're just a
Nah,
flood zone.
right.
So,
Right.
All right, I got to put y'all on pause. This episode is brought to you by T. Fred's Tiki Bar in Dutchtown. Founded by co-owners Travis, T. Frederick, and Anthony Richard in April of 26. They are located at 36520 Oak Plaza Avenue, Suite A, in Prairieville, next to Las Palmas and Griffin Grill. They have trivia on Tuesday nights, bingo on Wednesday nights, live music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Swamp Pop Sunday once a month featuring Justin Cornett. They recently partnered with Barfly Entertainment on Sundays featuring trivia, karaoke, bingo, great music, and coming soon, singles social night, like speed dating by matching people by their interests and placing them on teams competing together against other couples.
okay.
They have top shelf bourbons, vodka, scotch, a great selection of beer, specialty drinks like mojitos and blueberry lemon drop martinis. The newest drinks like surf sides and super lights. Their signature daiquiri, which I've tried, the Clint Adjustment, and their very own recipe margarita, White Russian, Emerald Isle, pina colada, and strawberry. I can vouch for the pina colada. It's good. They also have specialty daiquiris such as espresso martini, dirty colada, and bushwhacker. They've got daily drink and shot specials, buckets of beer. They do jello shots, fantastic bartenders, and the coolest tropical vibe bar around. Big announcement coming in a couple weeks about a very special event in October. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. That's T. Fred's Tiki Bar in Dutchtown. Country Kitchen in Gonzales has been serving your favorite home-cooked dishes for over 40 years. Family owned and operated, located at 615 East Ascension Street in the heart of Gonzales. They offer the best customer service and the best prices in town. At $14.61 per adult, that's $16 with tax. And they have much lower kids' prices for the all-you-can-eat buffet. You'll find favorites like savory gumbo, crispy fried and juicy baked chicken, fried and baked fish, meatloaf, barbecue ribs, cornbread dressing, mac and cheese, turnip greens, fried chicken livers, a large salad bar selection, and dessert bar, including their famous apple crunch. If you're like me, you'll take the apple crunch and bring it over to the bread pudding and put that rum sauce on the apple crunch. And then you turn around and you put the ice cream on top. You're welcome. So come hungry, leave happy, and loosen your belt one notch. Open Sunday through Friday, 10:30 to 2, and Friday nights, 5 to 8. We'll say that sometimes on those Friday nights they do trivia night. So follow them on Facebook and get the daily menus off their website at countrykitchengonzales.com. Now, Community Steel sponsored, but they never wrote me an ad, so I just wrote my own. Good luck. Had to go on their website and do it myself. All right, for all your metal needs, you need to call Community Steel, located at 12428 Highway 44 in Gonzales. They are locally owned and operated and do it all. Metal buildings, including warehouses and barns. They do custom cut roofing and sheet metal, porches, camper covers, storage units, lean-tos. Their experts are there to guide you through every step of your project, making sure you get the right products, the right fit, and the right results. They serve the areas of Baton Rouge, Baker, Denham, Zachary, Hammond, New Roads, Port Allen, all of Ascension Parish, and even Ponchatoula. With Community Steel, you don't just get steel, you get a local partner committed to delivering excellence. Call 225-647-2020 and go to communitysteelco.com. I think I did pretty good with that.
You did good,
I think
man.
you did.
It's real nice.
Shout out to Community
And
Steel.
So if anyone else wants to advertise, I'll let the hell
They're
out of
going to
it.
have you right in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Definitely three good businesses right here in Ascension with T. Fred's and Community Steel, and of course they Country Kitchen. I drew a blank. They got the best fried chicken in town.
Yeah,
I guarantee you that.
So I've been to T. Fred's a few times, and it's a little bit of mix of everybody.
I haven't been there yet, but I guess I need to go
it's
check
a
it out.
Gen X paradise in there. Like if you're the age 45 to 55, that's
Nah, I don't fit that age.
oh, you can still
What
go.
about 35-year-olds?
Yeah, it's a lot of that in there. But
Those are my grandkids.
Yes,
I've seen your buddy Taft in there a couple times.
yes,
and
they do a good job in there. Well,
I want to talk about some celebrities that donated to this flood. Taylor Swift donated $1 million to it.
That's
I didn't remember
know
that.
I don't remember
She
that
donated
either.
$1 million. And by the way, I hate whenever a celebrity donates like a piss load of money, and everybody's like, "That's it? That's all you donated?
Yeah.
You have all these billions of dollars, and you
Yeah.
only donated $1 million? Well, she could have donated nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Britney Spears, she wasn't even really famous then, but she donated $125K, which was a lot for Britney Spears probably then. All right, so Ellen DeGeneres, back when we liked her. So someone wrote her a letter. Someone in Galvez Middle, a PE teacher, wrote Ellen DeGeneres a letter, and she donated $125,000 to Galvez Middle.
That's awesome.
I didn't even know that.
I didn't know that either.
I'll tell you another thing while you talk about donations. So as you know, Santa Maria High School lost everything. They got 38 sports over there. They lost all of their athletic wear, all of their football, baseball, everything. New Orleans Saints ended up donating enough money to purchase just about all the supplies to outfit Santa Maria High School again.
That is
that's
awesome.
awesome.
I didn't know that either.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll just kick us back off, Jay, because you can chime in here anytime you want. But it was around, I want to say it was around August 15th is whenever I would say a little blessing came down to us, because it was we had one spot in Santa Maria that did not flood.
The church in Santa Maria.
It was the Church of Santa Maria, and then
Yep.
right next to it was called the venue halls.
Yes.
And this was a large venue hall place where you rent to have weddings and stuff
Yeah,
like
I've been
that.
there. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only place in Santa Maria that didn't flood. Now, keep in mind, the Shake Snyder family owned the venue halls, and they could have given this venue hall to anybody in the world that needed it, but the Shake Snyder family gave the venue halls to the emergency responders of Ascension Parish, and that's where we moved our command
Center.
post.
Yep.
And so, sheriff's office, every agency in the state of Louisiana you can imagine. We had 400 people here on days and 400 people here on nights, and basically that's where the command center was at. And for 28 straight days around the clock, we would run this command center at the venue halls in Santa Maria. And And of course, that's where everybody would deliver the supplies to. But Daniel mentioned the Church of Santa Ma, which was right next to it. They didn't flood either. But I wanted to mention Pastor Mark Sturmer and the Church of Santa Ma, because if it wouldn't have been for them, I don't know how we would have eaten for the next 28 days.
I agree, because they would drive to our houses while we're cleaning up and delivering food from a pickup
awesome.
truck, and we're like, are you serious? Like, is it free? Like, how much do I owe you? They're like, you don't owe us anything.
Yeah.
Well, then they're like, do you need help? And I was like, yeah, I need help. I got to clear out my entire house and rip my ceilings off, It's like, oh, don't worry about that. Stop working. We're going to send a team here.
Yeah.
And they had these teams that came from different churches from all around, and they completely gutted everyone's houses, which was a huge break for all of us.
The ones, and like Daniel said, it was a break for us because we were. Daniel was working for the sheriff's office. Of course, I'm fire chief. We're trying to take care of the public.
Right, exactly. We don't have days
and
off.
we have these church groups going around that helped us, gut our homes and stuff like that. But for 28 straight days, for breakfast, lunch, and supper, the Church of Santa Ma fed the command post. And we talking about 400 people on days and 400 people on nights, and they never hesitated.
That's a lot of food.
That's a lot of food.
But they did amazing. Food was good.
And they did it. They did it for 28 straight days, and it's just I guess a true testament of the community coming together when we needed them the most.
Yeah.
So at my house, speaking of the church groups, they sent us, I don't remember who it was, a group of Mormons. It was like 20 or 30 of them, and when I tell you these people got together and they all had their box cutters cutting the wall, the drywall, and boom, 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 and they had a plan. They went at it, and I'm like, I'm not Mormon, but today I don't care what religion you are. That's great,
Well, they did. Now the Mormon Church at that time was being the president of the Mormons Association was one of our past presidents here in Ascension, Mr. Ronnie Hughes. And he was he contacted all the Mormon churches across the United States.
I think that's who we had.
And they all came down here. And I'm gonna tell you what, they worked and they worked hard and it was a blessing for us that was working 24/7 around the clock for the rest of the residents.
Yeah, I agree. Because like you said though earlier, we didn't have days off. We're helping the public the entire time. So having these people come to your house and clean out your house for you was just a blessing itself. So
yeah, 'cause we had some family members, but it wasn't much. It was like 4 or 5 people, and then
my entire family flooded, so I couldn't rely on family to come help. So
well, I was just seeing the first responders. The ones that made the biggest impression upon me were the ones that knew when they got home what they were going to have to deal with. And because the mess was at home, but you guys were still out there serving the public. And I had a bit of an experience like that, not personally, but at Channel 9, we had a couple of guys who had 8 feet of water in their house.
Yeah.
And they still came to work Matt Williams, who was the morning anchor.
That's right.
And he had 2 kids at home and was still coming to work every day. And I can remember thinking, there's no way I'd be coming into work in this situation.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough,
especially with the kids. You know?
And we would do a daily interview with Matt Williams, and at that time it was the I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. The little blonde-headed
Westbrook.
Lauren Westbrook.
Right.
So Matt and Lauren were on the day show, and we would do daily interviews with them, and they would just treat us with so much respect because they knew what we were going through. Yes, of course. Mark mentioned it a while ago, but I'm a big time WAFB fan myself.
Maybe that's why I'm here, folks.
I'm a big weather guy. I love the weather.
Well, look, everybody.
Pat Shingleton said no, so I said, well, let's get the second best.
Oh, so I was second on your list, huh? Okay, well.
Do y'all remember the Restore program and the backlash and the hate it got?
Yeah. So that was of course.
Was that like a federally funded state program or something?
Yeah, and also the loan, the small small business loan,
SBAs,
SBA. I'll tell you what SBA. I'll tell you my personal experience of SBA. So you know, we fighting all of this, and we fighting mortgage companies, we fighting appraisals, we trying to fight everything we can to get our lives back in order and our houses back in order. And I still remember them coming to Santa Mall, the SBA people coming to Santa Mall, and you know, hey, look, you know, you can take out this loan with a small interest and all that. And I still remember we did it because, you know, they kind of talked us into it. And then once we got our house back in order, they wanted all the money back at one time.
So I was going to say that, yes.
It's like, I don't understand
My
that.
mortgage company at the time was like, hey, your house is flooded. You don't have to pay for a mortgage until you move back in.
Yeah.
Well, it took about 15 to 16 months before I was able to move back into my house. Well, they sent me a $15,000 to $16,000 note and said, hey,
Now you owe it back.
You owe us this all at once. And I'm like,
Who has
you're
that?
joking. Like, you're serious. He's like, oh, yeah. What you been doing? Well, I didn't have contents. I just had flood insurance. So my flood insurance replaced the house, but not the contents itself.
Right.
But yeah, they wanted that lump sum of money as soon as I moved back into my house.
As soon as we moved back in our house, I always thought the SBA loan was like you just pay it back on a small interest loan.
Right.
As soon as we moved back in our house, they wanted all of it paid back immediately.
I was with, I think, Chase Mortgage at the time,
Yeah.
and they were a little nicer. They said, you don't have to pay for a few months, but we're going to just tack it on at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So that was a better deal for me.
No, they told me I was good, and I was like, okay, so no house note until I moved back in. That's awesome. Sign me up. And that's what I did. And then, they wanted everything.
So the Restore program, it got a lot of flack because their plan was either we'll come fix it or we'll give you some money to fix it. Now, it would be less money than you wanted, but it would be easier to just let them do it. But they did such crappy work.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the bare minimum to get you. Like, they didn't
Yeah.
install like a good sink. It was just
Yeah.
a bucket on boards, and it was like barely enough to get you by. And they hauled ass and said, "Well, there you go, you're fixed." Bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was awful.
That was the biggest battle was trying to
Find contractors.
trying to find contractors
That you could trust,
and trying
though.
to find contractors you could trust.
Exactly.
I mean, if you remember during this time, there was one company that made the big time headlines because they were signing these contracts with these people and they were getting a good down payment, and then they went away.
Yeah.
They got their money and hauled ass.
They never did any
a
work
lot
on
of
these
these
people's
contractors
houses.
took on too much work, and they couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
So they're just, I'm going to fix your house. All right, this is the price, but we'll see we'll get to you when we get to you.
So my house flooded, and it was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. And that I will confidently say that is the worst thing that ever happened in my life at that point.
Yeah.
Because in Katrina, I lived in a little house on Beach Street, and we had a tree land on the roof. Now the inside was fine, but we had to rebuild, and we got a little check for that, and the insurance people came out, and it wasn't a big deal. We lost electricity for a while, whatever. But I lived down Cemetery Road off of Joe Saverio, just past the cemetery. It starts with a cemetery, then you have some houses. And when we moved there in 2009, me and my then wife, the right side of the road is all owned by one family called the Atkinsons. And there was an old man, I don't remember his name anymore, but he came out and he welcomed us, and he's like, "Hey, well, you're not even going to need flood insurance on this road. I've been here 50 years, and it's never flooded." We said, "Well, all right." So we didn't even get flood insurance. We're like, we'll save $12 a month or whatever. That was a stupid decision. But we were pretty broke at the time, so I said, well, that's one less bill we got to pay. Flood insurance, great. And then it was when the flood came to that house, it was the most slowest, torturous thing, because it didn't come fast for my house because I was just kind of on the edge of it. I could see the beginning of the road starting to flood. And also on Cemetery Road, there's a big, deep ditch behind that church and those houses. There's a big one back there. Well, that back ditch would always get high when it rained, but it never came up to the land. So that one was getting a little high, made us nervous, and then at the front of the road it was slowly creeping toward the graves. And then I think there was a couple of graves that come out the ground.
You led me into what I was going to say
I was
next.
about to say the Holy Rosary too, huh?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it was around August the 16th is whenever the call came in to the command center and said, "Hey, Chief, you're not going to believe what we're facing now." And I said, I can tell you what.
Throw it at me. What you got?
It can't get no worse than it is now. And so that's whenever they told me, they said, "You're not going to believe this, but there's caskets floating down Highway 431,
Jesus.
which is the main drag of Santa Maria."
Sure.
And it was like, so, and I said, "You talking about caskets from a cemetery?" And they said, "Yeah, Chief, it's like
It lifted those concrete covers off.
Everywhere we look, it looked like so." When it was all said and done, so all of our volunteer firemen ran out to Highway 431, and we grabbed anything that we could grab, and we started tying these caskets to trees, and we started tying the mailboxes and all that. So when the water went down, we escorted 38 caskets back to, at that time it was church funeral services on 431.
How did you know where they went back?
We didn't know. So that brings me to this. So we didn't know. So so 38 caskets, we loaded up in the back of a truck, red lights and sirens, escorted all these caskets to the Church of Santa Maria. The Church of Santa Maria got a big, huge refrigerated truck.
Yeah.
And we put all these caskets in this refrigerated truck. And then came the long, vigorous job of trying to figure out where these caskets came from. Yeah. Where did they come from? It was amazing that 6 caskets that ended up in Santa Maria came from Livingston.
Holy crap!
Came from Livingston. Wow. Came from Livingston.
That's a long walk.
So here's some things that some people don't realize. Like some people had like customized caskets. So when the water went down and the family members went to the cemetery and they say, "Oh my God, my relative is missing," some of them could be identified because of the special casket that was made, but
they don't have plates and serial numbers.
So 85% of them couldn't. So Mark, you bring up a good point. The Louisiana legislature passed a law after the 2016 flood that every casket has to have a barcode on it, and it has to have an identification marker on it, so that if this ever happens again, they could scan the barcode and tell you exactly where the casket went.
That's amazing.
Keep in mind, in 16 that didn't happen, so we had to go through. We helped the Church of Santa Maria, the funeral home. I'm talking about 12 to 13 to 14 months after trying to identify. We had 3 caskets that it took us 3 years to figure out where they went.
Wow.
Took us 3 years.
Did they have to open anybody?
Yes, they definitely had to.
Open
100%. 100. Had to do DNA on whatever was left to try to figure out who they were. So it was a long, rigorous battle trying to figure out. And like I mentioned it earlier, I've been fire chief 40 years. I've been through a lot of natural disasters. Jay, I know you've been through a lot of them too. Man, I don't remember any where we had this many caskets floating down the main streets of a rural area like Santa Maria.
Yeah, not here. I mean, we had that issue in other places in other storms, but this event was so off the charts, so you experienced things that had just never been seen before and don't want to ever see again. But as the chief points out, and we've already mentioned here, it's unlikely that in our lifetimes we'll see anything close to that.
I hope
but
not.
Unlikely and zero chance are 2 very different numbers.
Yeah, that's in my notes. Could this happen again? And are we more prepared if it does?
Yeah, so Jay brings up a good point, but keep in mind, in our lifetime, we may not see this again, but keep in mind, just 2 months ago, Avoyelles Parish saw it.
Yeah.
Jay, you heard Jay say 39 inches of water fell in less than 12 hours in Avoyelles Parish. We had 31 inches over a 3 or 4 day period. I'm as a fire chief, I'm nervous because I keep hearing people say you're probably not going to see this again in your lifetime, but Hurricane or Tropical Storm Arthur makes one little turn, and I'm facing it again.
Yep.
No matter what kind of pumps we install or weirs or whatever, that ain't going to stop.
You can't control Mother Nature, though. You just can't. Mother Nature's going to take its own course.
Right.
So,
but to answer your question, are we better prepared? I'm just going to tell you that there's been a lot of work since 2016. Ascension Parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, Livingston Parish on new pumping stations.
Levees.
We're definitely handling regular floods way better than we used to.
we just finished the Laurel Ridge levee,
I was about to ask about that.
which was a huge project for us. We're in the process of developing a new pumping station in the Geismar community that's going to take flood waters from the Bluff Road swamp and all
That's
that,
awesome.
and take it straight to the Mississippi River.
Oh, hell yeah.
So a lot of good things are happening from that, but again, it's hard to control 30 inches of rain over a 12-hour period or a 3 or 4 day period.
The avoils, it wasn't quite the 30 inches in 12 hours, about 20 to 20. I think the peak we saw was probably 29 inches. It's getting close in about a day there. The 39 was spread over a couple of days. But the point that you're making is exactly it. That number one, you can't engineer for all of Mother Nature.
No, if this table was South Louisiana and I poured this water bottle over the table, you can't do nothing.
You
That's
can't
too
do
much.
anything about it. Yeah,
No.
that's right.
And just another thing, you said it, and I think you said it without even thinking about it. Did you hear yourself say regular flood?
Yes. Well, flooding was pretty regular around here until recently.
And it is getting more frequent. There's no question about it. And, some of it is a change in the climate.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is also a change in the landscape.
I agree with that.
And that's one of the things we have to remember is that our community has swollen in size.
Yes.
The water's got to go somewhere.
And mostly to AC though.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the design issue here. I mean, every time, I like to tell people, every time you take a forest and turn it into a pasture and take that pasture and turn it into a Walmart parking lot.
What do you expect? Where's the water going to go? Exactly.
You've got to figure out a way to manage
It's
that
going to
water.
flow somewhere. So that's just it.
It's all going to flow downhill,
Yes.
so the low spot's going to get it.
Yeah, so one of the things that, the 2016 flood did, you heard me say 28 days around the clock, just about every agency you can imagine was in Santa Ma. Like you heard me say, 400 people on day. We had the Cajun Navy here. We had, just about any agency you can name. And so we had some big time visitors. At that time, the Homeland Security guy that was appointed by the president was a guy by the name of Jed Johnson. And he came and visited Santa Ma. And I'll tell you what impressed me the most about Jay. His name is Jay Johnson. So he's all nice and he's dressed up and he's in a suit and everything. But so we took him to areas of Santa Ma that was flooded the worst. And he got out of that high water vehicle with his suit and everything on, and he walked in water up to his knees, and it never fazed him. To go talk to people, to go talk to residents and tell the residents that help was on the way, and so that was impressive. And then whether you're a fan of him or not, we talked about this before, but the Santa Ma community is where future President Donald Trump would visit, and he brought an 18-wheeler load of some supplies down.
Good.
So we did have some big time visitors that came to see us, and that's it. I'm
gonna go back to my story.
I wish they'd have filtered more money this way because we sure could have used it.
We could have used it.
So anyway, the water had come up to the cemetery, and I'm the next house. So we're watching it, and then we went to sleep, and then wake up a couple hours later, it's closer, and then go to sleep, a couple hours it's closer, because it happened at night is when it came to the house. So it got closer, and then I have just this house, and then there's a laundry room on the back end that's by that drainage ditch I tell you about. So the first place the water comes in, and I'm waiting, I'm like, it's going to stop, it's not going to, and it keeps coming. You're like, wow, it's nuts, it's not going to stop. So it finally came in through the back door of the house on the drainage side, not from the main flood, but from the side, and that room is lower than the rest of the house for some reason. That's how they built it. And I'm like, well, we're still good. And then it came over that carpet, and we're like, nope.
Yeah.
So it ended up coming up 6 inches into the house, which is just enough to throw everything on the ground away.
Definitely ruins your day.
And then sheetrock comes in 4-foot pieces. So
Yes.
from 4 foot up, the whole house, all the wood had to be redone. That's all it takes.
You had to get it out anyway because of the mold issue.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Well, that was.
Yeah, it didn't matter if it was 6 inches or if it was 6 feet.
No,
it was the
just
same
still
result.
The same.
Right.
So one of my friends, he didn't flood. He's like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "I don't know. Help? I don't know." His parents have an RV. We had electricity at the house. They backed an RV down my driveway and said, "Here, hook your water or your electricity up to this thing, and y'all live out of this until you get your house straight." Which is
a lot of us was blessed for that. But and I'm not going to get the proper wording on this, but the people that didn't flood in Ascension,
Keystone.
those people were, I don't know the proper wording, but they were heartbroken that so many people in Ascension did flood.
Some of them used the phrase "survivor guilt."
That's right. That's what I was looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for. I can't tell you how many people came up to me at the command post while we were there for them 28 days and mentioned survivor grief. It was like, we feel bad because we survived this and so many people didn't. And I mean, it affected a lot of people. And Mark, you hit it a while ago. It's like I just hope and pray that in my lifetime and my kids' lifetime we don't see this kind of water again.
Yeah.
We actually had to rent a sea can because one of my relatives worked for Mobile Mini or something, so they put a big old sea can in the yard. So we moved all our stuff into it, and all the stuff was wet, or the venting in the sea can wasn't no good. Everything in there ruined.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So it didn't even matter. We lost all that.
Right. Yeah, because the sea cans are when they're closed up, they're so tight.
There's no air escape hardly at all.
That's
so
right.
everything in there just got ruined anyway.
Yeah.
The Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women had to move all 985 prisoners to different prisons.
Yes, and that and Daniel would know this more than me, but that Hunts Correctional Women's over in St. Gabriel, it's
aren't they right next door? So one flooded and one didn't.
Yeah, so the women's prison is the one that flooded.
Yeah.
Right.
And they just now. All this time, they just now opened up a new women's prison.
Yeah, I was going to say because the old one's closed now. It's
I
abandoned.
think they just reopened.
Yeah.
it.
It's just reopened.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that was a major ordeal too. Right there in St. Gabriel on Highway 74.
But there's a potato levee, for lack of another term, between the men's and the women's prison over there, and that levee protected the men's prison. Yeah.
Thank goodness Hunts doesn't have any problems these days.
Right.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
No, I think it's just one of the saying. We had a saying back in 2016 when we was going through this, and we live by it today. And if anybody that was in the Santa Mall, AC, Galvez, community, they'll tell you that I came up with a saying that our hearts were completely shattered, but our faith remained strong.
Yeah.
And it leads me into telling you that we never felt like we would be able to recover from this. But I can tell you, 10 years now, we have new schools, we have new fire departments. I would say 90 to 95% of the houses in the Santa Mall community have been rebuilt. So if you're listening to this podcast and you from Avoyelles Parish, I'll just tell you that I know times right now may seem like it's rough and that you're not going to be able to get out of this slump you're in, but I promise you, things will get better for you because now look, it took 5 to 6 years, almost 7 years for us to rebuild all the schools, rebuild all the fire departments, rebuild all the businesses that were lost, rebuild the homes that everybody. So it was a good 5 to 6 to 7 year plan. But I would say that we pretty much back to normal now. Now that it's 10 years later. But again, pray every day, and anxiety is high every day that we don't have to face this again.
Right.
So my family, we didn't do the Restore program. We took the check.
Yeah.
And it was only about $25,000. It could have been more, but that's what they assessed.
For the insurance company?
We didn't know we didn't have flood
didn't have
insurance.
Okay.
So we were extra screwed. So we got through FEMA or whatever government help we had was $24,000. And by the time we paid a company to replace all the drywall, paint, texture, whatever, that money was gone.
Yeah.
Speaking of
That
FEMA,
was
though, I
nothing.
got 12 cents from FEMA for the
Watch
flood.
out.
So, just watch out. But I also had flood insurance, so that's probably the main reason. So I guess FEMA was like, well, we can give them 12 cents, just say we did something, we donated something. Wow. So that kind of was a comedy thing during the time, which kind of helped out, with the process. Was like, hey, look at this check, bro, for 12 cents.
I will say this too, Mark, that when we were facing this, and I'm sure Denham Springs was the same way, Watson was the same way, Walker was the same way. Every weekend, somebody was coming to our command post from St. John Parish, St. James Parish, Iberville Parish, all these Rotary clubs and these Chamber of Commerces and these church groups, and they would sit in the parking lot and they would cook 500 to 1,000 meals on a weekend and just give it to anybody that needed it.
We had strangers come down our road and bring us jambalaya dinners all the time.
That's right.
Just didn't even know us.
Just feeding, and look, that went on for a good month and a half to 2 months, maybe even 3 months after the flood, where people just kept coming and cooking meals and feeding the residents of Ascension Parish. And I know, like I said, not discounting what happened in Livingston, but I'm sure they had the same thing there.
Yeah.
One thing, the main take from all this is that when our entire community got ruined, everybody got together and helped people who didn't even know. Somebody came out with a boat and just, hop in the boat.
Yes, and I'll take it to your house, check it out, That was a big thing also during that time.
Now, if we'd been in New York, it'd have been everybody for themselves. People would have been trying to break into my house with guns, nothing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered. But around here, everybody helps everybody. Don't even worry about it.
And that's like, if you could drive the Fisherman's One Stop was the main boat launch, pretty much, to go to AC and down Highway 22 towards the Virgin. We were putting the boats in at Fisherman's One Stop, and it's just, I pass it every day, and I'm like, bro, I just remember driving here in my truck, and I was like, somebody's like, hey, you need a ride? I'm like, yeah, I need a ride to my house. They're like, get in. And we're taking a freaking bass boat with a center console up to my house.
Look, we lost 4 fire stations in Santa Monica, and it was the only time in my life that I visited all 4 fire stations in a boat.
Yeah. It's insane when you think about it, though.
I was fortunate
That's
that
crazy.
my then wife's family, and they're the ones who own the snowball stand at Cannon and Roddy.
Yeah.
They were able to take care of my kids while me and my wife were working on the house.
Right.
So I was fortunate with that, and I'll give them some credit, even though they're my former ex-parent-in-laws, whatever. They're good people.
We've kind of touched on it in passing, but we haven't really gotten deep in the woods with regard to flood insurance. So we've got risk rating 2.0, and some people are a little nervous with that. But look, here's the thing, and I say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but in the reality, it's the truth. So people ask me, especially during that first year or two after that event, do I need flood insurance?
Yeah.
And I'd say, there's only 2 questions you need to ask. Number 1, do you live in South Louisiana?
That is true.
And number 2, has it ever rained in your backyard? And if you say yes to both of those,
So
get the flood insurance. Because here's the deal.
I agree.
Quit with the Starbucks and buy your morning coffee at Circle K. Save $2 a day right there.
that's $60 a month.
And there's your
your flood
insurance. It's just worth it because just a couple of inches of water is 12 to 15K.
Oh, flooring, all that. It's ruined.
So, and people say, well, over 30 years, I'll have invested, almost $30,000.
Wouldn't you have rather done that and not need it than?
No kidding. And over 30 years, you're not going to feel it. At $2 a day,
you're fine.
That's $500 a year. I get it, but if you do it piecemeal, it's manageable. But in the end, it is well worth it.
It
Just
is.
ask anybody
Yeah.
who didn't have flood insurance.
Yeah, good example of that would be when I first moved to Santa Maria. You know, I lived here my whole entire life, but I moved to Santa Maria from Dutchtown probably 30 years ago, and I paid $125,000 for my house and all my property. I got 6 acres of land and a nice house, and I paid $125,000. It cost me $138,000 to rebuild it from the
Yep.
2016.
Yep, mine was
flood.
125, 120 to rebuild everything.
From the flood, $138,000 to rebuild it from the flood.
Flood
One of-
insurance helped out.
Yeah, well, one of my uncle-in-laws back in the day, his house flooded, and the insurance company was trying to nickel and dime him what they wouldn't cover, and he's like, "What do y'all cover?" And he said, "Well, think about this: if you flip your house upside down, everything
Yes.
that falls, we don't cover."
Yep.
So like, he's like, "What about my TV?" And he said, "Nope, it will fall." And he's like, "What if I mount it on the wall?" He said, "No."
No, I had the same
the
problem.
building
though.
only, that's
it's
all they would cover.
And that's what happened with me. I didn't have contents at that time. And I'm not going to lie, I'm probably going to check tomorrow morning because I don't think I still have contents, to be honest with you. And that's a huge thing. That's at least $50,000, $60,000.
That's
You think about
exactly right.
You
We
know,
never think about
so
that.
you never think about that, but a bed sheets, you start thinking about toothbrush, your normal everyday living.
Wife's jewelry,
Jewelry, yes.
wife's shoes.
Yeah. And then you got to think pots and pans and silverware. I mean, contents will cover all that. I didn't have that, so I had to come out of pocket along with paying my mortgage company back $17,000 a lump sum. So I'm actually going to check on that
It's a
tomorrow
big,
morning.
big number, yeah. And again, the point is, if you look at it on a day-to-day basis, it's not that painful.
No. I think we're
Yeah.
already better prepared.
Yeah, I'm gonna
this
tell you,
year.
the only reason I had contents insurance, the only reason was because my sister was my insurance agent, and she told my wife.
Janice?
She told my wife years ago that
That's
we needed
awesome.
contents insurance, and I told my wife, I said, I don't think we
Exactly.
need that. But my sister talked my wife into it anyway, and thank God we did because we used every
Oh,
dime
man,
of it.
I wish.
We used every dime of it.
Yep.
I remember talking to the insurance adjuster when they came to my flooded house trying to find ways to give me money, and I'm like, I have a trumpet under the bed that got flooded, and they're like, no, and I said, that's a $4,000 box Stradivarius trumpet from the '70s. No, all right,
Yeah.
I tried.
No, I think it's just like Jay said and Daniel said and you said. It's an unfortunate situation that we all went through in our life, and hopefully we can. We're not talking about this 10 years from now.
No.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for this episode of Treats from the Store, sponsored by T. Fred's Tiki Bar, Community Steel, and Country Kitchen Gonzales. I want to thank my guest, Daniel Haydel, Chief James E. LeBlanc, you got to say the E, and Louisiana State climatologist Jay Grymes. And as always, Dutchtown needs a Taco Bell. Thanks for listening.